ready, Tammy? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Tammany Parish Zoning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2017. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Casabon? Here. Mr. Lauren? Here. Mr. Richardson? Here. Mr. Richard? Here. Mr. Willie? Here. Mr. Manella?
Here.
Mr. Davis? Here. Mr. Fitzmaurice? Here. Mr. Doherty? Here. Mr. Drum? Here. Mr. Randolph?
We do have a quorum. This time I would respectfully ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of the Commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of the Commission, we would ask that you fill out a speaker's card so that we have it for our records. Each side will be provided 10 minutes to present their case and 5 minutes of rebuttal. Lastly, at the end of each case, if you wish to discuss it further with people around you, we would ask that you leave the building, as if you go into the back foyer, it does echo into the chamber. This time, I would ask you to rise with the invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Richard.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you to say thank you for all the blessings you bestowed on our lives. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity once again to represent this parish. We thank you for each commissioner. Thank you for those that are in this audience and those that we represent outside. And gracious Father, we ask that you continue to bless us so that we might be a blessing to others, especially those that are experiencing the inclement conditions of Hurricane Harvey in Texas. Bless our neighbors in a mighty way. In all these blessings, we ask that we continue to take heed to the things that we're doing tonight and encourage us to make decisions that's in the best interest of all. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. In our packets, we have the minutes of the August 1st, 2017 meeting. I would ask you to review them, and I'll entertain a motion or any questions. Commissioner Davis.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve. Commissioner Dougherty. Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. Staff, do you have any cases which are to be postponed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on page number 2, which is the number 6 on the agenda, 2017-740.
Any other cases?
No other cases.
All right, staff recommends for postponement. We'll read it into the record. 2017-740-ZC. Existing zoning, A4 Single Family Residential District, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District, HC2 Highway Commercial District, and HC3 Highway Commercial District. Proposed zoning A4 Single Family Residential District, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District, HC2 Highway Commercial District, HC3 Highway Commercial District, and RBCO Regional Business Center Overlay. The parcel is 126 acres. The petitioner, Stephen Schmidt. The owner, MSREP 2, Cypress Covington Owner LLC. The parcel is located on the north side of I-12, east of Louisiana Highway 21, Ward 1, District 1. Staff is recommending postponement for 1 month?
Correct.
For 1 month. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Please come to the podium, sir.
David Lazare with Duplantis Design Group, 16564 East Brewster Road, Covington, Louisiana, 70433. On behalf of BSREP 2 Cypress Covington Owner LLC, we agree with the postponement to allow further coordination with staff.
And you postpone for 1 month?
Yes, sir, 1 month.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Make a motion that we postpone until next month.
Postponed by Commissioner Randolph for 1 month. Commissioner Willie, second. Any further comments? I do have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone for 1 month, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote. Motion carries 11 yeas, 0 nays. This is a public hearing. The public is encouraged to speak on behalf of or in opposition of any of our cases. Zoning change request cases, applications for proposed change of zoning district or amendments to the land use ordinance requiring review and recommendation of approval by the Zoning Commission before action by the Parish Council are as follows. 2017-727-ZC, existing zoning, A3 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A6 Multiple Family Residential District. The parcel, 17.69 acres. The petitioner, Joan Prieto Doolittle, Golden Properties LLC, the Cala Prieto Trust, Zon Nichols Prieto, Clay Carl Prieto, Rosalind F. Prieto. The owners, Joan Prieto Doolittle, Golden Properties LLC, the Cala Prieto Trust, Zon Nichols Prieto, Clay Carl Prieto, and Rosalind F. Prieto. Representative Paul Marone. The parcel is located on the south side of Emerald Forest Boulevard, east of Falconer Drive, being Lot P2, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses that are compatible with the existing uses in the area. Staff is not completely opposed to the requested zoning change to A6, considered that the site is directly abutting a multifamily development zone A7 on the west side. However, staff feels that a 17.69-acre parcel requested to be rezoned should be reduced in size to allow for the creation of a buffer along the south and east side of the property abutting A1A and A3 Suburban District. And I'd like to bring to your attention the survey that was just distributed to you with, which shows an alternative that, staff would be pleased with, and I'm sure that Mr. Marone will be able to explain that more in details. At this time, staff recommend denial of the request, but we would be in support of an amended zoning change as shown on the attached survey that was just distributed to you.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of the Prieto family and their various interests in regard to this property. This particular parcel, 17.69 acres, has historically been zoned multifamily. In fact, prior to the comprehensive rezoning, I believe that it was zoned A6 under the old ordinance 523 for probably at least 15 years to my recollection. The change to A3 took place during the comprehensive rezoning. And we are respectfully requesting this evening return to the A6 zone. As you'll see from your staff packet and the zoning map therein, you'll see that the trend along this side of Emerald Forest Boulevard extension is and has been multifamily. You have the Emerald Forest Apartments along Falconer. The lot P1 as shown on the survey is in fact A7, so you go from A6 to A7, and then our parcel. So we are proposing to step down from the A7 multifamily that is immediately to our west to the A6 zone that is before you this evening. Ms. Lambert made us aware of the staff's concerns and the need for a buffer on the property. Accordingly, you have in front of you a sketch by Mr. McHugh and his company, which would show you what we would propose to amend our request this evening to reflect, and that is that the 4.23 acres along the south and east border would remain A3, and the 13.46 acres in the interior of the parcel would be A6. So we would respectfully amend our request this evening from the full 17.69 acres to just the 13.46 acres. You see it on your sketch. We also have a detailed legal description identifying what you see on the sketch so that there is no confusion, hopefully, as to what you might be considering this evening. I would also like to point out that Mr. Kratzberg, who is here this evening, approached us earlier tonight regarding the buffer on the south side, the existing or the proposed A3, the 4.23 acres. Mr. Kratzberg and some of his other neighbors live to the south, and they have requested that in addition to keeping that property zoned single-family A3, that we take it a step further and we create a deed restriction on that parcel that would prevent it from being used for the construction of any structures, homes of any nature. And we are comfortable in doing that. As we've talked about, we would propose to allow for retention facilities in that area, but otherwise the construction of no structures would be permitted. I understand that that is not something that is governed by this commission, but I felt it was important for Mr. Kratzberg to hear us on the record this evening, reflect that commitment, and to let you know that we are prepared to make that commitment and to prepare, execute, and file the deed restriction along those terms. I would also point out that the remaining A3 does extend along a 40-foot strip along our western border. This again was suggested by staff. This would allow for the step down to end. So we go from multifamily A7 to A6 and keeping the A3 strip along the east line. And we are more than willing to do that. So for these reasons, we would respectfully submit to you that multifamily on this site, in particular A6, which is less dense than the A7 immediately adjacent to us, and is consistent with the A6 that is at the Emerald Forest site, would be appropriate here. And we would ask for your approval this evening to our amended request of just the 13.46 acres going from A3 and A4 to A6. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Please come to the podium, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Not in favor.
Okay.
I'm Captain that he mentioned.
You're in opposition?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get to you in a moment. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition?
Kevin Kratzberg, I filled out a card. Do you want me to state the address and all too?
Yes, please.
20025 Fifth Avenue, Covington, 70433. We are the properties immediately south of that. Technically, I live immediately south of the A7. My neighbors are all immediately south of the A6. We are a A2 subdivision. Many years ago, it was SA, us and the properties that we're now talking about. I do not know if they were temporarily rezoned to A6, but when the A7 was created, the whole rest of the area was changed to A3, including the property that Paul's talking about right now. When we first saw the signs, which was Saturday night, it didn't give us a whole lot of time to find out information. But I talked to Helen today, and she said she proposed the southern half to be a buffer. And we agree with that would be a good idea, and I talked to Paul, and he agreed that it would be designated a permanent buffer, so they couldn't build in it in the future. And with that in mind, we will not make any public objection. We do think the density is a little high, but that, you know, that's up to this board pretty much, what they want to do. But as long as it is designated that that is a no-build buffer, they can't come back in a week, a month, or a year, and then all of a sudden have apartments on them, we will not have any objection.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ross LeVay. I live at 321 Jordan Loop, the Garden Walk subdivision in Covington, Louisiana. I'm representing the Homeowners Association for the Garden Walk, which is located directly across the street from this property, okay? I was instrumental in designing and developing the Garden Walk, and I'd like to kind of read a brief history of how we got to where we are. When the idea of the Garden Walk began, it was discussed with the councilman at the time, Mr. Marty Gould. The Garden Walk is located next to Crestwood and across the street from the property in question. He strongly stated that he did not want any more multifamily apartments built in that area. He was looking for single-family development to be built. And because of the excessive amount of apartments in the area, he changed the zoning to A3 single-family. In keeping with his request, the Garden Walk was designed. The target market was aimed at principally empty nesters that no longer needed the larger homes they had for their kids and family to grow up in, and they no longer wanted the yard upkeep that accompanied it. So the Garden Walk was begun and would provide upscale homes with very small yards, a private courtyard, and exceptional privacy. The yards would be maintained by the Homeowners Association. Because of the landscape retention ponds in the rear yards, it has also provided not only a beautiful view, but peace of mind from ponds in the from flooding disasters that might come in the area. Like any new development, it takes time to win the confidence of the buyers. Our development has 64 building sites, and to date, we have 12 homes, 5 completed, 7 under construction, as well as several more under contract. There is not a need for an additional apartment complex to be built in this area. Additional single-family sites in this location would be more logical. The 700-foot-long concrete street fronting the Garden Walk was built according to the parish regulations and was paid for solely by the owners of the Garden Walk. It was presumed that the surrounding areas fronting the street would be zoned for single-family as well. We believe that additional multifamily developments in this immediate area would be detrimental to the values of the properties being constructed in the Garden Walk, which range from $350,000 to $600,000 presently, and we would appreciate the zoning remains single-family. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
My name is Dan Murphy. I live at 404 Millwood Drive in Crestwood Estates. I am a resident of St. Tammany Parish. I'm a voter, I'm a taxpayer, and I am a citizen. I've not always lived in a nice home like we have here in Crestwood. I moved here 12 years ago after Katrina. I was an apartment dweller for 27 years in Metairie. I was the second person to live in that apartment, the particular unit that I had. It was very new. It was like living in a country club in 1979. Gradually, over time, the apartment and the quality of living and the residents and the neighbors we had started declining. About a year before Katrina, I was sleeping in my bed on the first floor. About 20 yards outside my window, somebody emptied a Beretta magazine, shell casings all over the parking lot. Katrina made me move out, but I would have gone probably anyway. Anytime I see the term multiple family residential, that's an apartment. That is code speak for apartment. You can throw in whatever adjectives you want in there. It's going to bring in a certain level, certain class of people that are going to always bring criminal activity with them. There was a rental house directly across the street from where I live in Crestwood. They rented the house to a social do-good organization. They had 20 people living in that rental house, 20. They'd walk around all hours of the day and night on cell phones, probably cutting drug deals. They eventually were evicted because they didn't pay their rent. So I rise in opposition to not just this multiple family residential unit, but I think all of them. You know, we moved here, most of us from the South Shore, to escape New Orleans, to escape Metairie, to escape Kenner. And I respectfully say to you all, okay, we don't want New Orleans, Metairie, and Kenner in St. Tammany Parish. I appreciate it. I yield back my time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Order, please. Another, yes, please.
Hi, my name is Tom Hahn. I'm a new resident, almost, about 3 weeks from now, my house will be finished in the Garden Walk. So right now, I'm living on the other side of town, off of Oshner Boulevard in an apartment. I moved from Abita Springs to the apartment about a year ago so I could build a house in the Garden Walk. I did so with my wife because we wanted to downsize and so forth out of Abita Springs. Great place to live, by the way. However, I'm pretty upset over the fact that we may have an apartment building built right across the street. I'm getting ready to move in my house in about 3 weeks, and I'd love to know that that's not going to happen. A couple of questions I have for you, though, and of course, I'm worried about my home value, like all you guys would be. I've got a question for you, though. What is the difference between, for the audience and me, A6 and A7?
Staff.
It's the density, and the A7 allows you of a density of 1 unit per 2,500 square feet of property. And if you go to the A6, it's 1 unit per 6,000 square feet of property. So the A6 is less dense than the A7.
Right. So either or, though, could be an apartment building, I'm assuming. I live in one now. We have probably about 240, 300 apartments where I'm living now. It's decent, but it's crowded. There's probably at least 600 people living there right now, which means 600 cars, which means 600 cars on Emerald Forest Boulevard, which means another 600 cars going through Causeway, or now out the other way through Hellenberg, where the road is being built. The other question I have is, my understanding is, and you might know, Mr. Hand, where there's a new subdivision, my understanding is, going to Abita Springs off of 36 out past the baseball park. That's a PUD that's been proposed, is that correct? Street would be built off of Harrison and into 36, am I correct?
That is correct from what I understand. I've not been directly involved in it, but that is the knowledge in Abita.
The reason I'm asking that question is my understanding is there's 400 homes proposed to go in there. 400 homes times 2 to 3 people per home, talking another 8 to 1,200 people, 800 cars, another 800 cars on 59. Have we done traffic studies? If you did approve this, would you have to do traffic studies? Would you have to do drainage studies? What sorts of things do you do before you'd approve something like this?
That would be done in planning.
Right. So I'm asking that question because I haven't heard what the plan is for this plot of land. It seems to me that if somebody comes to request a change from A3 to whatever, you'd have a PUD, you'd have some plan in mind, so that you guys could look at and decide whether or not it makes any sense. There's apartment buildings all over Covington right now, all over Covington, Mandeville. There's 2 more being built out on the other side of town. How much more do we need? You know, how full all the apartments are now? What's the occupancy rate today of all those apartment buildings? Is it 60%, 80%, 90%? I don't know. The question I have is, why would we even look at this changing from A3 to something else without having a plan in mind that you guys could look at and say, okay, this makes sense or it doesn't make sense? So anyway, I'm concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morone, 5 minutes of rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few comments in rebuttal. First, as the commission is aware, this is a land use case, and with a straight request for a zoning category other than a PUD, there is no requirement for a plan. Rather, what we're asking for is a designation for the use of the property. If that designation is granted, then a plan would be required before any construction activities could begin. But we're not at that phase in the process yet to have the plan, since this is not a PUD. I would also respectfully submit to you that there is a place in St. Tammany for apartments. And I would disagree that apartments in and of themselves create some of the problems that were mentioned by some of the opponents. I respect and appreciate their concerns, but I would ask you to think about some of the prime areas in St. Tammany Parish. Take the city of Covington, for example. Take Janke Avenue, for example. You ride down Janke Avenue in the city of Covington, you pass large homes, you pass small homes, you pass apartments. Take Terabella. In Terabella, you're going to see large homes, you're going to see small homes, and you're going to see apartments. There are apartments right now immediately adjacent to this site. And then immediately adjacent to those apartments, there are other apartments. But the property values in the area, whether it's Crestwood or otherwise, have continued to remain strong. And I would submit to you that that is evidence that the mere existence of apartments in this locale or on this property does not relate to negative property values or to the decrease in property values. That is a concern that I hear a lot. It is a concern that I respect, but I respectfully disagree with the conclusion. With regards to the impact, with Crestwood, this property is across Emerald Forest Boulevard and has no access whatsoever to Crestwood. In addition, this property has no access whatsoever to Highway 59. So we would have no impact on the traffic on Highway 59 in any way. And I would respectfully submit to you would not have any impact whatsoever on Crestwood, as there is no connectivity whatsoever between those properties. If you look at this general area, as with other general areas, I would submit to you that this is an appropriate location for a multifamily zone. We are proposing to step that zone down from the more dense A7 that's there to the A6 that we're proposing. We are proposing to reduce the size of the parcel for rezoning down to the 13.62 acres, I believe, that is set forth on your sketch. There is a place in St. Tammany Parish for apartments. There is a place in St. Tammany Parish for apartments. I believe this is one of those places. And I would respectfully request your consideration this evening of our amended request as set forth on the McHugh plat before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor in the rebuttal? The opposition will also be given 5 minutes for rebuttal. Yes, sir, you may come to the podium.
folks. My name is Brian Baracco. I'm also a resident of the Garden Walk subdivision. Mr. Ross had given you a nice brief synopsis of what the Garden Walk has become and how it's come that way. Not only is it empty nesters, but it's also family homes as well. I have a 1-year-old little girl, and a big reason on why we decided to come to the Garden Walk was because of safety. Not just safety, but the dream of raising a family in a good, secure subdivision that we know would be family-oriented. Now, according to Mr. Marone, I can agree. Not all apartments are going to bring as much crime as everyone may think, but there is a place for apartments in St. Tammany, and where that is, that should be where all the other apartments are being built right now, and that is close to the Target area. If you guys are familiar with that, that's all been zoned strictly for multifamily, and I think that's an appropriate area. Now, in terms of density, if any of you have driven down Highway 190 in the recent months at 5 o'clock traffic, as you know, it gets pretty astounding. You could wait in traffic from the end of 190 all the way to the beginning for almost an hour. If we bring in an additional 600 to 700 more units in there, then obviously that will create another problem, and it wouldn't be great for us. So thank you for your time. I want to voice my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition, sir?
William Balsam, 221 Jordan Loop, and in the new subdivision, Garden Loop. We moved here to we're empty nesters, and lived in Metairie, and my career was in north of the state. I worked for a time with Dr. Keller and Gregory. You probably know of them in Mandeville. They were the first and only physicians there, and affected my way of thinking. And moved back now in retirement. There's already a large complex across the street. And my concerns, even though gated, and that the increased traffic is mentioned already. There's already a person that walks to get his groceries. He has an ankle bracelet on, who lives there now. So, I mean, live and let live. But at the same time, I think there is a place for apartments. I think it would be better served for the parish to look closer over to Target where there are more apartments, as mentioned before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition?
Scott Sanford, 106 Bamboo Drive in Crestwood. I have a baby on the way, and when the new road was built, all the forestry that was that boundary for Crestwood is no longer in existence. The HOA paid to put a whole bunch of new plants that will take 15 years to grow for a new greenery boundary. So to say that there's not going to be a single issue, knowing that that greenery and the boundary that used to be there, the forestry boundary, is gone now when that road was built, I think that's going to be baloney. I do. Because we now have, you've had the recent break-in over in Tammany Hills, and my concern is safety. My concern is how many people are going to go over there. I didn't even know about that bracelet. Thank you for sharing that. But it does concern me. I have a little one on the way. And if I know Crestwood isn't going to have a barrier, I come from Atlanta. Everywhere has brick walls everywhere. It's all super tight. And there's brick walls. But they have walls there for a reason. And it makes you kind of feel like you're in a third world country. And the fact that we're losing our forestry, the fact that we're losing some of the natural boundaries, which I think make this area great, make me question some of the safety. Because in my parents' neighborhood, there's green boundaries everywhere. But in other parts of more densely areas of Atlanta, you have lots of walls, 8, 10-foot walls. So I ask that, and I am in opposition, I do ask that if this is built, that St. Tammany Parish, the multifamily housing, or that there be some provision for a large wall to be built for protection for the kids that are on that playground and on that huge field that Crestwood has had in there since its development.
Thank you, sir. This time, we will close it to the public, and we will bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
I have a question for staff. Not looking at the aerial, but looking at the zoning map, according to my paper, that out of that 17.69 acres, there's also A4 in there. Is that correct?
Yes, it appears that there's A4 on that map.
But is that correct? Because I thought we were talking A3 to A6. So is this even published correctly?
It is published correctly,
So there is no A4, is that what you're
but
saying?
there might be A4, however, it's the request that you go in from a zoning to the A6 zoning. So I don't see as the original zoning of the majority of the property is A3.
So would it leave the A4 as is and just change the A3 to A6?
No, well, it's the property in itself, we advertise the legal description, so the property in itself is advertised correctly.
Okay, so this zoning image that we were given is not correct then?
Yeah, it's a portion, it appears according to this, that a portion of the property is on the A4, but it could be corrected.
A question for Paul. Am I looking at this incorrectly? Is it any A4 in that property at all?
It looks like, based on the zoning map in the staff packet, that the northwest quarter almost would be A4. And then the remainder would be A3.
An A4 quarter would be exactly south. That's interesting.
Would be
It
south.
just looks a little funny, because it would be actually south, so you wouldn't be able to build a multifamily dwelling on that property if it is A4 currently, and that would satisfy the people that are living just north in the Garden Walk. I'm a little confused in this, that's all. I'm just a little confused in knowing, is it all A3 or not A3?
Based on the map here, it looks like that corner, that quadrant would be A4, and then the remainder would be A3.
So is that, you have to redo your publication to request A4, A3 to A6?
No, sir, it does not have to be re-advertised, and legal counsel
Okay.
can confirm that.
That's correct? Okay. That's one question. Second question for you, Paul.
Yes.
You said before about A7 to A6. That's not actually true. You're talking about increase in density from A3 to A6. That's what you're trying to do.
Yes, when I talked about stepping down, I meant from the A7 that's next
Right.
door
So you're going
to
from
the proposed
A7
A6.
to
Yes.
A6 instead of saying A7, A3, which is a big step down now.
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. I
All
wasn't
right.
suggesting that we're zoned A7 now, but next door is A7, this would be
Right.
A6.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Casabon?
Mic on. Yes, Paul, that was some of my questions that I had too, that I see part of this is A4, is currently A3, and we're wanting to make the whole thing A6. With the density is pretty great. If I remember correctly, I think we did the A4 as a protection for the Garden Walk area, that we would have some of Crestwood, some single-family homes, you know, compatible, I think, to the Crestwood. I just, looking at this, my opinion is that it's a density that, even though it's A7 next door, we have the Emerald Forest Apartments next door, that I just think that we can come up with something that's not as dense for this particular area, but I'll wait and see what everybody else has to say.
Commissioner Richard?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Paul, a quick question. I think our maps are confusing us a bit. It's confusing me a little bit when I look at on the staff's map, it says A6 on either, proposed on either side, or A6 on Emerald Forest. Is that the apartment complex that's there now? Is that A6 or A7?
There's two apartment complexes immediately to the west of this site.
Okay.
The one that is immediately next door, the newer version, is A7.
Okay.
Then as you get to the Emerald Forest apartments or condos that have been there for a while that actually front Falconer, I believe those are A6.
Okay, all right. Well, I tell you, I wasn't sure, looking at the maps, the two maps weren't quite jiving for me, but I appreciate the answer there. And I also do appreciate the fact that an effort was made to create a buffer. Now, it sounds like we covered a bit of a buffer to help our neighbors to the south and a little bit to the, I guess, the east. And the only question then is the folks on the north side and Garden Walk. But I do appreciate the effort that was made to, to comply with staff's request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Casabon?
Paul,
Yes.
because I don't like the density and the amount and what we have going on there, would y'all consider leaving that A4 as part of a buffer? And then you have the buffer in the back, and then, to me, the density wouldn't be as great.
Without knowing the
Acreage?
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. That was my next question was, do we have an approximate acreage?
5 acres.
That's 5 acres? So that would be 5 and 8. So you're taking, some of that to have some protection from, or for the garden walk on that part. Just an observation there, to help with the density, even though it is an A6, but,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
just to explain, it is a 5-acre parcel. However, if you look at the zoning map, it also includes a portion of the road. So it's less than 5 acres that is zone A4. I don't know if,
But
I'm assuming it was done through the comprehensive rezoning, but I don't know
take
why
that
such a small portion was
Left off. But
left as a A4.
anything that would be put into, that would be taken out of this A6 would help, to me, I think, with the density. So,
Ms. Casabon,
Yes.
in talking to Mr. Prieto, we are sensitive to what the folks in Garden Walk are saying. We would be willing to try to create a protective buffer for them along the front. Rather than trying to take the existing A4 there, because it doesn't extend along all of the frontage, what we would propose to do is to take a 100-foot strip all the way along Emerald Forest Extension and leave that zoned A3, or leave that zoned as it is currently zoned. Maybe is a better way of saying it.
Yes, this is.
Because I think a portion of that would be A4 and a portion of that would be A3. That would give them a 100-foot buffer there that would ensure that anything that was constructed would be to the south of that. It would also provide visual screening and some of the other things that the folks in Crestwood were concerned about, as well as the folks in Garden Walk. So we would be, if that is something that the commission would be interested in, we would be happy to amend our request so that that 100-foot strip along Emerald Forest Boulevard would remain zoned as it is today. And we would only be requesting the A6 for the interior portion.
And keep the buffer in the 4.2 acres.
That
in
is
the back.
correct. Keeping the existing buffers that you see on your
I
McHugh
think
sketch.
aesthetically, that could work. I'll hear from the rest of my commissioners, but.
Just as a point of clarification for the
Sure.
staff, regardless of the zoning, the buffer, if the owner would agree to place the buffer in, doesn't matter what the underlying zoning would be, would it?
But I know through development, sometimes that gets built on, even though they, it's, if we went ahead and redid this whole thing, the A6, that they'll go, oh, well, it's A6, you know, I think, even though there's a buffer there. I don't know, I think it's more security to have maybe that frontage there, the A4 and A3 as zoned.
I would also add one more caveat that I didn't mention earlier, but Mr. Prieto also agreed to, that in addition to leaving it as it is currently zoned, other than what we need for ingress and egress, obviously, to get access, we would agree to designate it as a no-cut area
Yes, that would be great.
for clarity purposes.
Thank you. Commissioner Willie?
I'm looking at this map and I'm seeing single-family homes on three sides of it, A4, A3, and A1A. And to me, it looked like it was put in place to protect those single-family homes. And I would prefer, is A4 single-family? A5, what, is there an A5?
A5 is for duplex.
Duplex. So you see the intent that it was there to be a buffer for single-family homes. I'm going to move for denial.
We have a motion by Commissioner Willie to deny. Commissioner Davis?
With the additional information about placing a 100-foot no-cut buffer from the northern part of this property, leaving it the current zoning from A3 to A4 in that area, including the A3 4.23 acres at the rear and also the small parcel on the side, and then changing it, the remaining property, A6, I believe that's appropriate, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve. Commissioner Lauren?
I don't personally like to see us make these kind of decisions on the fly where we're doing all this, well, can we swap this and swap that? I would much prefer to see us, rather than deny or approve it, to postpone it until we've got something in front of us that tells us exactly how it would be laid out. So I make a motion to postpone it until we've got something concrete in front of us to tell us exactly where the zoning would be. We know that that corner is 5 acres, less portion of it for the road. We don't know how much. Okay? So what we're saying is we're zoning stuff that we really don't have the facts on, and I would make a motion to postpone.
We have a motion
For
by
1 month.
By
Come
Commissioner
up with a
Lauren
plan.
to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Randolph? Second. Motion, Commissioner Richard, motion to postpone will precedent. We have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to postpone for 1 month. We have a second by Commissioner Randolph. Now, just to explain, there was a motion to deny, there was a motion to approve. They were not seconded. Motion to postpone will take precedence, and it was seconded. So at this time, we can debate the motion to postpone. Are there any comments on a motion to postpone? Hearing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Lauren to postpone the case for 1 month, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
All support the motion to postpone for 1 month. Motion approved.
Thank you. We would recommend that whether it's a community meeting or meeting with the developer and those who are in opposition, and as Commissioner Lauren has expressed, there was a lot of final amending going on, so we would feel more comfortable if you establish it. I think what the developer proposed was very accommodating relative to protecting interests and aesthetics, and we will take it again next month. Thank you. We'll give you a few moments to exit the building. Commissioner Davis?
Pug, did you want to make some sort of a recommendation to have a town hall meeting since you brought up the postponement over?
I would recommend, yeah. Do they want a town hall meeting? Mr. Marone, do you know whether or not the opposition would like a town hall meeting? We don't know. I know they left.
Well, I don't know. I can tell you that I know Mr. Kratzberg well, and I know Mr. LeVay very well, and so it will not be a problem for us to hook up and have conversation.
Right. If you would contact them.
I will.
See if there would be one, let staff know, and then they can contact us to set one up.
I will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
2017-728-ZC, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District, proposed zoning, A1 Suburban District and manufactured housing overlay. The parcels, 10 acres. The petitioner, Kayla K. Hudson. Owner, Floyd R. and Carolyn Call. Parcels located at the end of F. Jenkins Road, south of Sherwood Forest Lane, Ward 5, District 6. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with agricultural and residential uses with the objective of preserving the rural character of the area. Staff does not have any objection to the request. Staff recommends the request for a manufactured housing overlay be approved.
Is the petitioner here? Yes. If you would be so kind, ma'am, to come to the podium, state your name and address and the reason for your request.
My name is Kayla K. Hudson. I recently moved in with my father, so the new address is 81502 F. Jenkins Road, Bush, Louisiana, 70431. This is all 20 acres belongs to my father. We would like, and my father and my mother both have mobile homes for over 30 years out there, and we would like to put one there also, on the back 10 acres of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
It seems very appropriate. I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Randolph. Okay. And Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, Ms. Hudson, I want to be sure I understood you appropriately, but the area just north of the section we're dealing with belongs to your dad now?
Yes, sir. All of this property belongs to my father.
Okay, so the access to your property is going to be a private drive off through his?
Yes, sir. And actually his drive is Sherwood Forest Lane. It is a parish road.
All right, so how are you going to get access?
Where you see the 35, if you have a copy of the survey, there is a 35-foot right-of-way that was put there, but it's just a driveway through the field of cattle.
No, we don't have that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But there is, you're saying there is a 35-foot right-of-way, and say again where it is?
It goes off of the, well, the asphalt stopped at a certain point and the gravel, but it's off of Sherwood Forest Lane. And it would go to the right side to the back 10 acres, which is already through the field. There's 2 gates in that approximately 5-acre field there that has access to all the property.
Okay. All right, I think I can see it on the aerial here. It kind of looks like there may be a road there.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Willie to approve, seconded. Please vote.
All commissioners support the motion. Motion approved.
2017-732-ZC, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A2 Suburban District. The parcel, 3.22 acres. The petitioner, Gary A. and Judith M. Mitchell. The owner, Gary A. and Judith M. Mitchell. The parcel is located on the south side of Adolphus Road, east of Louisiana Highway 1129, Ward 2, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with agricultural and residential uses while emphasizing the preservation of the rural character of the area. Although the site is surrounded by property zoned A1 Suburban District, staff is not completely opposed to the zoning change request, considering that the objective of the request is to allow for the creation of 2 parcels of land, one for the existing single-family residence and one for the existing mobile home.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Sir, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address and the reason for your request.
Gary Mitchell, 20014 Adolphus Road. What I have is a house with 3.22 acres. My daughter got married about 20 years ago, so we moved a mobile home on that land. All I'm wanting to do is put the mobile home with 1 acre. My house will stay with 2.22 acres. And that's all I want to do.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
Hello. My name is Bill Orazio, and I live to the south side, 81438 Jim Sharp Road. I have 1,300 feet across the boundary. He's on the south side of his boundary. My opposition is, right now at the trailer, this whole summer we listened to music all day long. The lady that was living there hollering at her kids all day. They had 2 pit bulls that drug trash on our property and ate, chased after our cats. So we don't need to put 1 acre home sites for trailers. More trailers will detrimentally decrease the property values. And he has a trailer on now, and he will continue putting a trailer on. It won't be a house. I brought some photos. The trailer's, even though somebody's living in it, the trailer's pretty beat up. There's trash all over the place. The mailbox is knocked down. There's trash all over by the mailbox. If I want to present these photos, this is what I get to look at. And I also have, here, I have a couple 8x10s also. I moved there 22 years ago to choose that area because of the 5 acre minimum. And I bought the 15 acres next door to it. And because of its rural character and country living. It is very country living around that area. Would like to see it remain that way with the rural character. That's kind of pretty much it. I have, and you can see on the drawing, I mean, this is his property here, and this is my property here, this whole section right below here. So the trailer's right in the middle, and like I said, the pit bulls used to bring trash, and they would eat garbage on our property and leave it there. Went after a cat, growled at a few people that were on our property before. I just don't think we need to have any trailers there to be period, even the one that's there, but he guess he's already there. But, you know, that's pretty much it. Just not in favor of it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Mr. Mitchell, you have 5 minutes in which you can rebut.
This is property that's been in the family since the 1940s. This piece of property has my home on it. And back 20 years ago, my daughter got married, so we put a mobile home on there. Okay, all I'm wanting is just to have 1 acre took off of the 3.22 acres. In case the future, if something should happen to me, my wife, then she could go sell it, mortgage it, do whatever she needs to do. For this, I better not go that far. All I want to do is come up here and do what's supposed to be done on the property, and that's about all I can say. And I'm just looking out for the future because I own the other part of the property. It's all been divided. This is just one piece that I let go. Probably 20 years, I probably should have done that back then, but I didn't because I really didn't think nothing about it. So that's about it, you know. I ain't trying to pull nothing over on nobody. Everybody can go down through there and look at it. It's just plain and simple. And that's about it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, would you like to make any other comment in opposition?
Yes, sir. I had a question. Who actually owns the property that the right-of-way is on? The gas company right-of-way. Who owns that property? That's. I see you have a drawing. In your drawing, it cuts off right at the right-of-way. Who owns the property to the east of the right-of-way?
I don't know. So it's relative. Is it relative to this particular case? Is it relative
Yes,
to
sir.
this zoning?
Yes, sir. I don't know if
Does
Mr.
he own the
Mitchell owned
property?
that. I think he did years ago. I don't know if he still owns it.
If it's, we're speaking specifically on this parcel of property at this time. So if it's
Okay.
not as part of the case, then it's of no relevance.
So he doesn't own the rest of it on
He
it?
may own whatever he may own. We're speaking specifically on this parcel on this case.
Yeah. I think what he's trying to do is get paid twice from the WST when they coming through there with the power line, because he'll have 2 separate pieces of parcel if he splits it up. I think that's what he's after, trying to do.
Thank you, sir. This time I'll close it to the public and I will bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, sir. I know this area very well. I've known these people all my life, and this is inherited property. And what they want to do is set it up for their daughter and their family for the future. And I think releasing 1 acre from the 2.2 is appropriate. I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Willie.
I just want to mention too, since this was a total of 3 acres, it's already non-conforming use in A1, so A2 would even correct the inventory there, so I'm in approval of that.
Commissioner Davis.
I have some questions for Mr. Mitchell. So the whole idea of this is just to subdivide your property and have an individual 1 acre property?
No, sir. The whole idea is because it has a mobile home on it.
Right.
So I just want to take 1 acre and just put with that mobile home, just in case if something happens in the future, well, then they wouldn't have to go through this again.
Okay, so you don't have anybody living in that mobile home now?
Yes, I do.
Are you charging rent?
Yes, I'm renting it. This trailer's been there for 20 years. Okay? Yes, I am renting it.
Is it your intention, since it's going to be basically subdivided in a 1 acre, to then sell that property as well? Is that what you were saying before?
I don't never know what's going to happen in the future, but I'm doing it because this is y'all's laws. So if I had that trailer with 1 acre, if something ever happened, if we died, or if my daughter and them decide that they needed it, then they wouldn't have to go through this because they'd be away from the house.
Right. What's the size of that trailer? Do you know what the square footage is?
I'd say it's probably 800 square feet, if not better.
Question for staff. Since it's an 800 square foot and it could be considered an outbuilding, do we even need to be talking about this? I just don't quite understand the rationale of why we even trying to put a manufactured home overlay on something that's already been there.
He's not asking for a manufactured housing overlay. What he's asking is to create 2 parcels of land, 1 parcel for the mobile home and 1 parcel for his existing residence. The mobile home is already there.
Okay.
Commissioner Richardson.
I just concur with Ms. Martha. I think it should be approved.
Thank you. Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Casavon to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
All commissioners support the motion. Motion approved.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
2017-737-ZC. Existing zoning, A4 Single Family Residential District. Proposed zoning, NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District. The parcel, 1.94 acres. The petitioner, succession of Warren E. Aereo and estate of Luce Enloe Aereo. The owner, succession of Warren E. Aereo and the estate of Luce Enloe Aereo. Representative Jeffrey Shane. The parcel is located on the northwest corner of U.S. Highway 11 and 5th Avenue, south of Pearl River Street, being the remainder of Square 4, Elton Subdivision, Ward 8, District 9. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses. Staff does not have any objection to the request, considering that the site is located along a highly traveled highway and directly abutting an industrial site. Staff recommends that the request for NC4 be approved.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Good evening. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the petitioner, which is Dorsey Development Company, LLC. They have appeared before this commission before as they develop Dollar General sites in St. Tammany Parish. This particular location is shown, of course, on the vicinity map that you have in the staff report. I think you would agree that for the most part it is surrounded by more intense zoning in the area. Dollar General is mindful that the Alton School is located just west, sort of behind the site. For that reason, there will certainly be no alcoholic beverages of any type that would be packaged or sold through this Dollar General. because of the proximity to the school. If you have ridden the Highway 11 corridor, I think you would agree that this is a good location to provide this type of retail outlet. It should provide needed goods and services. We think it's going to be very complementary to the school community, the parents that have children in that school, that will be easy for them either before or after school to pick up supplies and things of that nature. So with those comments in mind, we respectfully request that you recommend that the council change the zoning to the NC4 that we have requested. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them at the proper time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Dougherty.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote. Mr. Willie.
Mr. Willie abstain. Everybody else in favor of the motion. Motion approved.
Thank you.
2017-739-ZC, existing zoning, NC1 Professional Office District, HC2 Highway Commercial District, proposed zoning, HC3 Highway Commercial District. The parcel, 6.25 acres. The petitioner, CarMax Auto Stores, Inc., K. Douglas Moyer, and Centerpoint, Brad Loth. The owner, Marie Elise Prieto, Ernest Prieto, Clay Carl Prieto, PTP Properties, LLC, James Kent Jackson, Janet R. Jackson, Marilyn Stossel, MKMHB LLC, Marilyn Stossel Seifert, Robert T. Doolittle Jr., Benjamin Doolittle, Lauren B. Golden, Malloy C. Golden as the co-executors of the succession of Mary Prieto Golden. Representative, the Prieto family, sellers, Lisby Eustace. Parcel located on the north side of U.S. Highway 190, Service Road, east of Hellenberg Road, Ward 3, District 5. Staff.
The 2025 future land use plan call for the area to be developed with new commercial uses compatible with the surrounding uses in the area. Staff doesn't have any objection to the request, considering the intensity of the adjacent commercial uses and the location of the site, which is directly facing I-12. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Petitioner or representative petitioner?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Good evening, Commissioners. Avery Foray. Our office address is 625 Barone Street in New Orleans. Land use attorney and urban planner here on behalf of CarMax. We do have our development team here and our engineers who are happy to answer any questions. Thank you for hearing this matter today, and thanks to Helen and staff. They've been fantastic to work with through this process. As you see before you, this is a request for zoning change. They would pave the way for a CarMax development. I'm not sure how familiar you are with CarMax, but we'd love to share more as we go through this process. The majority of the site is zoned HC2, and the rest of it is NC1, so it would be upzoning that to the HC3 to accommodate that development. We had a great neighborhood meeting at the request of the council member here in the chambers. Had a great turnout. We were able to share more about the development and the site, and pleased to share that a lot of the neighbors walked away feeling pretty good about this use and this location, given that it is next to an existing car dealership and that it is a relatively low traffic use. So they were very happy to see us coming. Again, happy to answer any questions about the site or CarMax in general, and thank you for hearing it this evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request?
Lisby Eustace, 831 South New Hampshire Street in Covington. I represent the sellers, the Prieto family. And of course, I'm here to say that we welcome this great new project to our area. We have more land that is available next to this, between this and the Oregon Procurement Center. So hopefully we'll be able to do something with that as well. And thank you so much for your time today, and thank you, CarMax, for everything that you have done to help through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition?
Kurt Hanks, 246 Stonebridge Cove, Madisonville. I'm the general manager at North Shore Toyota, and this is not really in opposition, more or less. I didn't even know there was a community neighborhood meeting. I didn't see any publication on that. And actually, the meeting tonight, there was a little sign tucked away down by the property. It was hard to find to even know that this was going on tonight. But my main concern is about the water retention on the plan, on the property, and how they intend to disperse the water, because it's kind of a problem in that part of the avenue. So I don't know if that's at this point or not.
Give me a call at the office and we'll be happy to.
You can answer that? Yeah. Okay. Other than that, welcome. Come on in. All right.
Thank you. More of Otto Row, right?
Right.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition or to comment? Not at this time. I would close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Ms. Fry, how large will the CarMax Auto Superstore be?
Sure, the whole site altogether, as you see, is about 6.25 acres. I'm going to ask our engineer to come up and give the square footage on the proposed
Right.
building. Most of this site would be the development, along with, obviously, the pavement where they have the cars. There's also a very large retention pond on the northernmost, which creates kind of a great buffer, actually, for
Right.
between the residences and the actual auto development. So Brad's here with Centerpoint, the engineer for the.
Brad Loth, I work for Centerpoint. Address is 355 Union Boulevard in Lakewood, Colorado. So the square footage of the total building is 7,480 square feet. It's a small format store for them.
How big?
7,500 approximately square feet. 7,480. So the majority of the lot is going to be their sales display area.
Okay, and
So-
that's included in the square footage, and that's why it has to be at least 200,000 square foot. Is that correct? Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Richard.
Excellent. Thank you for coming to our area. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Randolph. No further comment. Commissioner Davis.
I'll third that.
You'll third it. Good. I was going to ask, is this the first CarMax in this area?
Yeah, this is the second one we've worked on. There's one in Baton Rouge currently. There's one being built in Kenner right now as we speak. So this would be the third in this region. So they are expanding slowly but surely in the general southern.
This one will be completed before the Kenner store will be completed, is that correct?
I
No,
think the
of
Kenner
course
store
it
is
will.
coming first, yes.
We're very competitive on the North Shore, as you'll find out. No.
Yeah.
Again, welcome to the community.
Yeah, it's also a great employer too, so. Happy to come.
Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Richard to approve, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice and others, thirds and fourth. Please vote.
All commissioners support the motion. Motion approved.
Thank you. 2017-740 ZC was postponed for 1 month. 2017-742-ZC, existing zoning, A1 Suburban District. Proposed zoning, A1 Suburban District and manufactured housing overlay. Parcel 40,000 square feet. The petitioner, Eric Guzman, The owner, Eric Guzman. The parcel is located on the north side of US Highway 190, east of Red Mill Drive, west of Ridge Road, being Lot 24, Onisi Fashion Subdivision, Ward 8, District 13. Staff.
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with uses that would encourage the preservation of the natural environment of the area. Considering that the site is surrounded by residential uses, staff has no objection to the request. Staff recommends that the request for manufactured housing overlay be approved.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Please state your name and address for the record.
Eric Guzman, I live at 2120 Teal Street down in Slidell. I purchased 14 acres and I'm looking for a little spot to put a manufactured home and maybe later build a home there.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Dougherty?
I'll second, but I also have a question. There appears to be some buildings on the property now, and I'm looking at an aerial, and it could be just the way the aerial printed out. Is there any structures on the property?
Yes, sir. It's just an old shed which left of Katrina. Probably has 3 walls. Most of the roof's done fell in. Didn't get on nothing yet. Didn't touch anything yet because didn't want to do anything wrong.
Okay, all right, and your intent is to, at this point in time, to purchase a manufactured housing and put on the property?
Yes, sir, for now.
Okay, thank you. And I believe I seconded it, but if I
Yes,
didn't,
you
I
did.
will.
Any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote.
All commissioners support the motion. Motion approved.
Thank you. Is there any old business to come before the commission? Any new business to come before the commission? Accept the motion to adjourn.